So in this session, we're going to cover the C# Web API tester. First thing we're going to do, though, is we'll have some legal disclaimers. Okay, let's go over the agenda. First, I'll just talk about myself for a little bit, just in case some people aren't familiar with who I am. Then we're going to look at how we start the Web API tester, how we view results from the API tester, how we can test update methods, how we can do previewing of calls to see what the data that will be passed to the call will look like. We can see how we can use the Web API tester to do debugging. And then I'll just go ahead and do a little live demo of it. So first, about me. My name is Bruce Armstrong. I work for a company called Integrated Data Services. I've been there since 2004. At the time I first joined them, the only thing they did was client-server development using PowerBuilder. We have since migrated most of our projects to HTML5 JavaScript with Java in the middle tier. However, we do have a few customers that are still using the PowerBuilder client. In addition to PowerBuilder, well, I should say before that, I spent 15 years as an independent developer doing PowerBuilder development. So I've been using PowerBuilder for quite some time. Any event, in addition to PowerBuilder, what I know is Oracle PL SQL, Java, C#, and C++, and a few other things. But anyway, I'm involved in a number of open source projects. One of those being the open source PFC libraries. I help maintain those. I wrote a utility called PBNI SMTP, which uses the PowerBuilder native interface. So this is a C# extension that allows PowerBuilder to send an email via SMTP. And I put together a number of plugins for Jenkins, one of them being the one that uses the autocompile utility provided in PowerBuilder 2017 and 2019. So that if you want to get into continuous integration and you want to do builds using Jenkins, this is something you might want to look at, or something like it. Anyway, enough about me. A little bit about the company I work for. Any event, this is how you start the Web API tester. So this is in the SnapDevelop environment. You go to your controller, pick any of the methods on the controller, right click in it, and you can say run tests. Okay, and so what's that will do then is it will bring up the API tester. It actually has a little history section, so it will show you what other tests you've done recently if you want to go back and rerun one of those. It will also show you the controller that you have launched it from at this point. So this was my customer controller, which has a retrieve and an update method. And so I'm going to use the retrieve method. You can see the URL up here, and then the arguments that get provided to this Web API. There's also options for if you need to specify headers or a body, in the case of, let's say, an update call, when you need to provide the rows you're updating. Okay, so this is, I do the send, and down here at the bottom, I have the results. This is the JSON I got back for the one particular row I requested. So that method obviously is working. Okay. Now we want to test an update method. Well, the big problem with doing Web API testing, particularly with updates, is that you have to put the data together that you need to put into the call. And what's really nice about the Web API tester in SnapDevelop is it helps do that for you by retrieving the data from the retrieve method and then making it available for you to update and send back. So you click this little icon when I'm in the update method. You click this little icon right here, and it allows you to you can give it a URL then for retrieving the data. And that way you've got something to work with. and then you can go in here and you can modify the existing data, you can add rows, you can delete rows, and then all of that then is sent back into your update method. What you can do also is you can go to the body in this case. You saw that body tab earlier. So this body was generated automatically based on that data we had just been looking at. So this is, by the way, this is data window JSON format, so that you can see the stuff like filter rows and delete rows. So in this case, I'm deleting a row, and you can see how in the data window JSON format how the delete row is sent back to the web API. And this is before I actually sent it, but then you hit send and off it goes. So that's how you can test your methods. You're working against live data, obviously. Now, what happens when something goes wrong? Well, you may want to debug your service, and you can actually do that here from the web API tester. So what you do, instead of saying run tests, you say debug tests. And what that will do is that will drop you into your controllers. If you set breakpoints in your controller code, it will, when it reaches that point in the compiled app that you're testing against, it'll drop you into the debugger in SnapDevelop at the breakpoint, and then you can start walking through the code to see why you aren't getting the data or the results, or you're getting the error, whatever's gone wrong, that the web API is not working the way you want it to work. Okay, so before we leave, let's actually take a look at this in a live example. Okay, so this is the SnapDevelop. This is my controller. Notice I've got a breakpoint set. We'll use that a little bit later. But for now, I'm just going to right-click and say Run Tests. And so it's going to build the project. It's going to run the service in the background. And so here's my history. Other calls I've done today. This is the controller I'm working with right now. So I'm using the data store methods in my controller. So they're the only two methods are retrieve and update. If I was using the it's using the data window JSON format. If I was using the standard JSON format and not using passing the classes rather than data store, you'd have an insert and delete methods here as well. Anyway, so that's the URL call for the method. I've got an argument here. Now the way I've coded this, you can either pass a customer ID and get that customer back, that single customer back, or you can enter -1, and that will retrieve all of the customers. So I'm going to go ahead and send that, and sure enough, we got data back. So we can look at it down here. There's our data. We can go to the update method now, and there's this option I pointed out here earlier that allows us to retrieve data. So we've got the sample data we can use to test an update method. And so I've done this before, and so it already knows that for this update method, what I want to do is do the retrieve -1. So it gives me the data back. I can select one of these customers. This is customer 5. I'm going to change the middle name from F to G. Now if we go look at the body, as I mentioned, this is the data store JSON format. So that's all metadata about the call. Then we actually see the primary rows. Now the way this works, it only sends one row back. It sends back just the row I modified. So you notice customer ID 5 there. You'll see all the attributes. So there's the title and the first name, but those all just get passed back as a single value. Notice the middle name gets passed back as 2 values and a status flag. So the original value was F. I just changed it to G, and then you've got the status flag indicating that this was the column that was modified in this single row. And then the filter rows and delete rows here are blank. I'm not deleting it as I was in the code sample I had for the slide. So that is how you can test both the retrieve methods and the update methods. And then we can look at debugging. So what I'll do now is I'll right click, instead of saying run test, I'll say debug tests. And give it a minute. Okay, we're going to call our retrieve method again. Okay, and it's not entirely obvious because this is up in front of the window here. But if I minimize this, you notice that it has stopped on the debug stop I created earlier. And now we can step through our code and see what's going on. And so in this case, I'll just do a return, bring that window back up again, and there's the data again. But if there'd something gone wrong, you could have stepped through your code here and determine what had gone wrong and then address it. Okay, so that's basically the end of the demo. So last thing I direct you to is the community website, community.appeon.com. Most people probably know it because of the question and answer section in there. But there's also code samples, and the code sample that I used here for this demo is available up there in the code exchange area. So if you look for that and you want to kind of play with the REST API tester yourself, you can. So thanks for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Elevate 2020.